Okay, so I'm going to be showing you how to do some postural taping with KT tape for the shoulder blades, especially for those of us that have been rounding our chest for years pre-top surgery. This will really help retrain our muscles how to have that proper posture. And honestly, for everybody, because most of us sit hunched over a computer or doing some kind of manual labor in front of us. So this will just help learn how to get those shoulder blades down and back throughout the day. So what I'm using is some pieces of rock tape. I'm not affiliated with rock tape by any means, but I love this brand because it's a lot stickier. So even though it costs a little bit more, you put it on less often. So it kind of evens out. You can buy it in pre-cut strips, or if you have a long roll, you just want to make sure that you round the edges before you start. And that way the corners don't get stuck on clothes and it tends to stay on longer. If you are cutting it yourself, the length that you want to cut it is shorter than what you actually want to use. And what I mean by that is I'm going to try to go from the base of his shoulder up over the top. So I cut the tape shorter than what I need because we're going to be stretching the tape. All right. Before you go to apply this, you can also check on a small area to make sure that you're not allergic to adhesives. If you are allergic to adhesives, please don't use KT tape. And then the other thing you want to make sure is that the skin is clean and dry. If it is really sweaty or dirty, you can always alcohol off as well. So what I want to do first is to get some of the paper off the back. Now, because the tape itself is cloth material and the back is paper, you don't have to sit here and peel it off. You can just rip. So I want to make an anchor point, so about 1 inch or 2. So I'm just going to take the back and I'm going to rip, and it's going to rip that paper on the back side. So I'm pulling off that little tiny piece, and now I have an anchor. Now, before I go to apply this on him, I need to make sure that he's in a good position. So he's going to be squeezing his shoulder blades down and back, and his job is to keep that posture the entire time. So I'm going to be anchoring this down to the base of his shoulder blade. Now, it doesn't need to be perfect, but somewhere along the bottom side there. So I'm going to be sticking this down, and then the adhesive is heat activated, so make sure you rub that in really good. Now I'm going to be peeling the paper off the back, but again, I want an anchor on that other end. So I'm keeping the last inch or so of paper on the tape. Now I'm stretching. Because I want this for muscular awareness, I'm going to put a lot of stretch on this tape, like almost max stretch. So I'm going to hold it in place and I'm going to stretch almost as far as I can and then lay this down over his shoulder. And then on the front side, I'm going to have him turn so you can see the front side a little bit. All I'm doing is pulling the paper off and then just tapping that down. So what ends up happening is that the middle part of that tape gets stretch and the two ends are anchored without stretch so that it sticks better. So that's the first piece, is up and over the shoulder. Now we're going to take the same thing, our second piece, and this one's going to go around the front of the shoulder like a holster. Now, people tape for this in different ways. I've seen a very classic X before, and I used to use this in my practice. But I found that this holster method worked a lot better for my patients, so I kind of switched to using this holster method. But, you know, you can always play around with different ones and see which one you like better. So I'm going to do that same thing where I rip about that bottom inch or so to make my anchor. Now, to note that rock tape or KT tape of any kind sticks to skin, not to itself. So when I go to put this horizontal piece on, I need to overlap it so that I hit his skin, not ending right on the tape. And I want to get it below his shoulder joint a little bit. So I'm going to be kind of going just below the top of his bone here on his shoulder and horizontally across. So I'm going to tack it down to the back side here, overlapping that other piece, rubbing it in, peeling that paper off the back, leaving that solid inch or so of paper still on the tape for my anchor. And then I'm pulling this around to the front and then tacking it down just by papering off here and then tacking it down. I got a little curl in it. There we go. We fixed it. And then tacking it down to the front. Now, he's got pretty big shoulders, and I had a short enough piece where it ended here on him. That's perfect. Sometimes if my folks are a little bit smaller, or sometimes those pre-cut strips are pretty long and they end up interlocking in the front, in which case you just got to trim it shorter. So it's okay if yours goes slightly further than this. Just depends on the length of your tape and the size of your person. But this is basically what we're looking for. So it's holding him in this down and back position. Now the tape's not strong enough, like he can physically still move his arm all over. However, it's just encouraging in his brain, telling him to keep that shoulder down and back. And when he starts shrugging forward, he'll feel it tugging on his skin and remind his brain, oh, get that shoulder down and back. So that's how we tape for postural awareness of the shoulder blades with KT tape or rock tape.